like from my house to, it probably goes down $100 at least, right? Yeah. It kind of dead ends once you get it to the cul-de-sac. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm 10 years older than you, but I think I'm in your same like generation, sort of.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. Call the Dalton Township Planning Commission meeting for April 30th to order. Start with roll call. Dave, I'm here. Jesse is excused. Todd? Here. Lee? Here. John? Here. Casey?
Here.
And Kevin is excused also. All right, we want to do an approval of the agenda for tonight, and we do have a request for under new business. If somebody wants the opportunity to discuss rezoning, I want some information on that or a chance to look at what he's looking for, so if you'll add that in as a number 2. Yeah, just like a discussion. Other than that, is there anyone that would like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the added item.
Support.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we'll move on to number 4, the approval of the minutes from the March 26th meeting. We don't need to approve anything from the work session, that is it.
Right. I don't think that's enough.
Motion to approve the minutes from March 26th meeting.
Support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We have 2 items up for public hearing tonight. We will have a separate, each one of those will have their own public comment section. So if you have a comment that you would like to make specific to that, we will give an opportunity to everyone to be heard for that. First, we have, this is just a general public comment. If anyone would like to stand up, make any comments on anything else, you can do that right now. You can have up to 3 minutes to do that. So I will open up the public comment at 6:03. And if you do wish to make a comment, if you just stand up and give us your name and address so that we can have it for the record, we appreciate it. Open that at 6:03. I give one last chance. All right, we'll close the general public comment at 6:04. All right, first up tonight, and we have 2 items for public hearing. The first one we have up is SU 24-03 and SPR 24-04 for 2272 Northwind Drive for a group daycare. And we have the applicant here, Sarah. Sarah, are you here? Okay. All right, Sarah, generally what we'd like to do here is give you the opportunity to kind of present what you're looking for and kind of address the board, if you would, and kind of tell us again what you're looking for.
Would you like me to go to the podium?
Yeah, that would be great.
Sorry about that. Hi, my name is Sarah Hicks. I'm the owner of Blessed Beginnings Family Childcare. So we currently have a capacity of 6 spots, and I'm here today because we'd like to double that capacity. We have 4 children of our own, and 2 of our kids count in our ratio. So I currently have a wait list that is actually greater than the number of spots that I would have available to fill after expanding capacity. So I knew that there was a huge need for childcare in the community, but I had no idea how huge that need was until I had opened my business at the beginning of this year. We believe that we're very blessed with a spacious home and yard, and we feel called to share this with other families. We want to give parents the comfort of bringing their children to a safe and nurturing environment while they're at work. And I attend professional development meetings every month and strive to continuously gain knowledge to help the children in my care to learn and grow. I interview every potential family that comes looking for spots and ensure that they will be respectful of the speed limit and of our neighbors, like respectful of everyone's property, for example, during drop off and pickup, making sure that everyone stays within our driveway, not on anybody else's property. Our current business hours are from 6:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. And during that time, we're normally only outside for a couple hours a day. We never go outside before 9 a.m. And in fact, it's normally after like 10 a.m. We want to be respectful of our neighbors, and therefore we don't have any loud or noisy toys like pots and pans or musical instruments outside for them to choose from. Our outdoor space is within our fully fenced in backyard, and we have a 6-foot privacy fence. And then in addition to the privacy fence, there are also large trees that separate us from our neighbors. Immediately behind our property, it's wooded with no homes or structures. And as far as traffic goes, we only anticipate an increase of maybe 3 cars or less per day for drop off and pickup. We take great pride in what we do. We don't take it lightly that parents are entrusting their children to our care. And we look forward to contributing to the community in as many ways as we can, especially in providing families with a support system while nurturing and teaching young hearts and minds. We appreciate the assistance of the township and our fellow community members and the opportunity to make these goals a reality. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much, Hugh. Okay, kind of got the idea of what we're doing here. So now what we're going to do is we will open up the public hearing for this particular request. And what we'll do again is if anyone would like to make a comment or whatever, address it to the board and not to, and if there is a question that you would like in your 3 minutes, you may ask us and direct it to us, but she may at that time answer for you to get clarity. So you can go ahead and sit down that way. You have your opportunity here, and I'll go ahead and at 6:08, I will go ahead and open up the public hearing.
Want us to come up or?
Yeah, if you, it's your choice. If you want to be at the podium, that's fine.
Let's state your name and address for the record.
Kevin Marshall, and it's 2288 Northwind Drive. The only problem I have with this sole granting her these extra kids is she's already got 6 plus her own 4. That makes 16 kids at this house at one time. And we believe the noise level will be too much. We're retired people. We live in our backyard a lot. Not opposed to what she's doing right now, but we just believe that it's going to be too many kids at one site here. Our other thing is she's going to need employees. That means probably a couple more people there. There could be possibly 18 people there at one time for a small residence and a quiet neighborhood like ours. Is that a business now, a big business, or is it just a daycare situation? So that's how we feel, or I feel. And that's my comment.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Zach, 2289, you want to play it right? I have
What's the address? I'm sorry.
2289,
Okay.
Northwood Drive. I actually sent a list of questions.
That's fine.
So, are we going to address all of those before I ask additional, or? I do have a concern in regards to when we're discussing the traffic. But aside from the concerns that I put on there, even just yesterday, there was someone that was parked outside of my home for an hour plus. Not even on the easement or anything. They were literally in the street for over an hour. That's obviously not something you should.
Do you live directly across the street? Okay.
It's mostly directly across the street is slightly kitty corner.
Okay.
But there's no flashers, no nothing, like they were just parked there in their vehicle was shut off. My general comments overall is, I also have children, I do completely understand that daycare are needed. However, people choose to live in the area that we do, like that in cul-de-sac, in order to limit the traffic, the noise, but still be conveniently located. And when you have multiple homes that would still like to remain that way and not have it be a business area. Did I replay you back my email or are you not going to?
Well, I don't think we address it, like, we have a 3-minute kind of thing for everybody to have a chance to have a comment on that. And then if we would like to reference any something in here, we may do that as the, a lot of this is stuff that we would have to have answers for. We may not be able to provide an answer immediately on these.
Okay, so can you think of how the decision process works then? So the hearing's today. Then when is the decision made and is there to question that decision? Or is it just you make the decision and that's that? Sorry, I don't know the process.
Today, what we would do is we would vote whether to send this forward to the board.
Okay.
And that would be,
No, it's us.
is it
So
just,
this would be
we-
final approval.
I thought-
Yeah, this would be final approval, and circuit court is their only,
Yes.
yes, for special use, when the planning commission, if you don't agree with our decision, your next step would be to take them to court. That's, so yes,
then-
this is the final decision tonight.
So then all questions that have been sent in would need to be addressed.
Correct, yep, yep.
But they respond to some of your technical questions,
Yes.
but some of the more subjective questions would need to be answered by the planning commission. If you'd like to ask those specific ones, you might be able to shed light on that.
I will let somebody else come up and say what I say for a second, because I mean, I have my email, but I don't have all of the ones circled that weren't answered. Oh, no, I have.
Shields, 2306 Northwood Drive. So I bought back in 2005. Actually, I had 2 children. I moved in a house with me, single father. But in that area, I love the area. It's beautiful cul-de-sac. Families have come and gone, and I actually do enjoy children. Actually friends with a lot of the neighborhood kids myself. But I bought the intent of retiring there. But I didn't even have a clue that there may be some kind of business in the neighborhood. I would have never bought in that area. The neighbors are all great. We all have a purpose there. Trying to keep up our yards, properties, be friendly with everybody. And at this point, I just don't think it's a great idea. There's gonna be a lot more vehicles. I'm on the street with some of the children in the neighborhood. And even the buses coming through now, it's almost too much traffic. So the extra traffic, the noise level that I expect to see and hear. I have neighbors that are retired next to me, and I do plan on retiring soon, and I would like to enjoy my life in the neighborhood that I purchased, expecting that to happen. If it means anything to you, but it really means a lot to everybody in your neighborhood. I understand you want to start a business. Might not be proper to say, but it's the wrong neighborhood. It should be out in another area in the country or whatever. It's just my personal opinion, but they have close neighbors and they can succeed and let kids have fun and run wild. I think it's the right neighborhood to do it. Okay.
Thank you.
My name is David Rignaris, I'm at 2260 Northwind Drive, immediately west of their house. Lived there for about 2 years. I come home, my lunch hour, most every day. I've had no issues whatsoever. They've been good neighbors, their kids have been, just enjoyable. They keep a good eye on them. During my time there, I've never seen any of the kids that they are watching outside of their house or their backyard. So more or less I'm in support of this business if they want to have that.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak?
So to return to my questions that were not answered, there are ones regarding what this can do to land taxes, home values. None of those questions were addressed. I didn't find anything in my research online aside from a lot of threads of realtors stating that they will tell people just not to buy a home next to a daycare, which could impact everything.
Yeah.
You. And sorry, I'm looking more. Greenfield. I don't know if there is any impact to this. There were multiple questions as far as having that many individuals in a single home. If there can be any issues with drain fields or anything, because one side of the street is very prone to flooding. Most of the homes do flood. So then if we have that much more excess of water, is there any real concern there?
Not for anybody's drain field but theirs. They may have to pump their septic tanks more often, but no. If it becomes an issue, then at that point they would need to decide whether they downsize their business or whether they rebuild their septic, but it wouldn't affect any neighboring properties.
And then the last one I know somebody else also sent in was also about signage. As far as if it's business, it will require signs, which would go against the characteristics of the neighborhood.
I don't think signage would be a requirement. If it was made as something optional, I'm sure this committee would want a 4x8 sheet, maybe a little something under the mailbox. I read that comment, that was what I thought about, Something like this, I think, would be very discreet if at all.
Sarah, how long have you been licensed for six?
Since just before the new year. And because 2 of my children count in my ratio, I only have 4.
Okay, so you, at the beginning of 2024 or,
Yes,
okay.
Yeah.
And you don't have a sign out right now?
correct.
Because you have a waiting list a mile long, so the last thing you need is a sign. Are you planning to put a sign out?
I wasn't planning,
Okay.
especially if it's something that, other people would appreciate not being there, then I have no reason to.
Does the changing of this to the higher quantity, does that change its? And she's currently at the 6 or whatever, does that change? I know I'm just trying to address the sign thing, like, does that change the sign situation at all? Or that doesn't really change that, does it?
No, it wouldn't. So they
They could have a sign right now.
basically they'd be allowed a 2 square foot home occupation sign. But really, that's something that you could limit as a condition or really as part of a special use, you could give her whatever kind of sign she wants if you wanted a sign. But you can also restrict it.
Alright, just curious, you have the answers probably more faster in your head than you digging for here. Wanted to know about that.
that pretty well answer the questions that you had? We don't know which ones you have replied to either, so I don't know if which ones have been applied to or replied to or.
The tax one would be hard.
Yeah.
That's kind of the assessor's style stuff. I mean, I don't even know. Seems like budget to me, assessor stuff, but I don't know.
My understanding is in order to answer those questions, you guys can actually have it reviewed, correct?
What reviewed?
As to whether it would impact our home prices or our land taxes.
I don't believe there's any precedence for us ever doing that, right? That's very subjective.
We have it before, and it would be subject to market conditions. I don't. We'd have to ask the assessor as to what the tax implications for other properties would be, if there were.
I can tell you though, that when Thunderbird Raceway was closed and reopened after 5 years of being out of business, the tax values in the area have only gone up normal. There has been no depreciation because of the sudden loud noises there. So I'm assuming a daycare would be somewhat similar, if not even more forgivable than a racetrack. So I don't know that there's any precedence for property values changing from a small home-based business.
You need to look at the area too. That's out in the middle of nowhere, basically. We're in a place
Could
where
you state your name if you?
Mary Beth Field, 2306. So you're talking about Thunderbird, but I lived in this part of town my whole life. And the sound out there, I mean, let's look at it's out in the middle of nowhere where you've got, I wouldn't want to live next to a school. How about that? And I chose not to live next to a school. So I chose not to live next to a daycare either because of the kids, the loudness, all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's things to consider. I just kind of feel like could have been brought about differently, like if she would have asked us ahead of time rather than having to do all this. And I guess I don't know how to say what I want to say, but it's like, I want to retire. I want it quiet. I don't want kids screaming all night long, all day long. I want to be able to be comfortable in my own backyard and not have to listen to that if I want to have people over. And right now, we already hear it. So I can't imagine 6 more people. I mean, this is a close cul-de-sac. It's not like out by Thunderbird. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's
Not really, it's a resident, it's not a cul-de-sac, but there's people that live right in front of the racetrack. Their house is literally in the parking lot of the racetrack.
And Thunderbird has been there for a long, long time. So some of those people chose. They chose.
That's why I said when they were closed for the 5 years. And, you know, people who have owned property next to Dog Star Ranch, who lived there for 30, 40 years, and now there's a dog park that's been there for the last 15 years. Like, there's other people that go through the same exact thing.
I talked to 2 realtors and they told me they don't show houses next to daycares. So.
So did you have to originally, when you first started this, get approval, site plan?
For my current business as it is,
Yeah.
no, that wasn't a requirement.
It's permitted.
Yeah, 6 and under is required, or required to be permitted by the state.
Yeah, which all daycares are.
I mean, like, I have like a license, I,
Yeah, I was just curious about coming through here or whatever, but I don't
So it's
know.
permitted,
It's
it's,
permitted. and
right,
everything,
a
yeah.
special use would be above.
It's hard to know everything in this book, so.
to address some of the questions, like, for instance, like with my septic tank and things, most of the children are in diapers, that I have, and, on that note, a lot of them are 2 or 3 and under, and we're only outside for a couple of hours a day, if that. We've never gone for a walk down the street, since I've been opened, and if that was a problem, then we could stay in our backyard. I mean, I don't anticipate, the children that would be joining me to be exceptionally louder than any of the other children in our neighborhood, if that makes sense. There are a lot of growing families in my neighborhood. So as far as I didn't mean any disrespect to my neighbors, I just thought it's only adding a couple of extra kids to a neighborhood that already has a lot of kids. And as far as employees, it's only my husband and I. There wouldn't be any other traffic from vehicles. The families that we currently have, one of them is actually the neighbor directly across the street from me, so she walks her kids over. And then there are 2 other vehicles that come and go in my driveway for less than 5 minutes, in the morning and in the afternoon. So, I've talked to them already about the speed limit and being very respectful of that. And they don't go further into the cul-de-sac past the driveway. And I would make sure to make that known to all families.
Kathleen Marshall, 2288 Northwind Drive, we live right next door. Their kids scream at each other, they're very, very noisy. I don't know how they're gonna control more and keep the noise down when their own poor children are very loud and they scream at the top of their lungs. And they have 2 huge barking dogs also, which is nothing to do with it. I also want to ask if their yard is really not in the greatest shape. I know they're working on it, but I don't know if you guys have anything to do with that. But there's junk everywhere in that backyard. It's
In the backyard,
yes, where all the kids are.
how are you able to see over their privacy fence?
We have our house very high.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if you have anything to say about that, but I mean, they don't really, I mean, there's a lot of dangerous things it looks like back there. So,
Well, she is licensed by the state of Michigan, so
okay.
we don't have anything to
That's
do
what I
with
thought.
her
I
running
just
the
thought-
daycare,
I
unfortunately.
understand, but as far as the noise, the 4 kids are loud enough as it is. So adding, 10 more, 12 more, it's gonna be like a playground. So, all I have to say.
Can I ask Sarah a question?
Yes, that's a question.
You can, sir,
Doesn't your license?
You can ask us a
you have to,
question.
you have to direct the question.
Doesn't the license that she's gonna have for 12 gonna require to have employees? Because that's what I read online.
No, it's just a ratio of adults to children. If her and her husband meet the ratios, they do not need to employ anyone else.
Okay,
And it typically, I think, is it 1 to 6?
no, if you have kids under 3, there's a different ratio. From what I read, I'm learning too, I wanna know,
But again, this is not of the planning commission. That is also something you'd want to direct to the state of
Okay,
Michigan.
well, that would I'm just saying, when she said she's not gonna have any employees, like, every daycare I know I had kids in daycare, they had.
It just depends on when they're there. If she meets the certain ratios
Right.
and kids are at different scheduled times,
I
then
understand that.
and that's all in her state permit too. That can be found online too if you want to research her state permit.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so have we addressed the questions you had on there? Are there any that you feel you would like to ask if we can give you direction? Because again, we don't know which ones you were given direction on or anything.
So I have Curtis, 2289 Northwind. So I guess right now, she's saying a lot of this is currently what's going on. This is who she has. These are the kids she's watching, and I think that's fine. But things change. So there's nothing that's going to stop her from, I mean, she gets to choose who she, keeps, but they're not always going to be 2 to 3 year olds in diapers. Kids grow up. So unless she has a limit, she's only going to do this. There's nothing that's going to stop her from eventually having 12 cars, because each parent only has,
one kid and that's what she's got coming in. She can't guarantee nobody goes past the driveway. She can't guarantee that somebody's not gonna park in the drive lane for an hour at her house because they go in for a quick minute to talk about whatever happened at daycare that day. So I think it's fine that right now that there's no problems, but there's nothing that says that her clientele doesn't change in 2 months. And all of a sudden now we have, again, 12 cars coming into our neighborhood, driving wherever they want, park. There's no guarantees to any of this. So I don't know them very well, but she cannot guarantee any of this. So we're introducing a business into a residential area that was never intended for that. So I completely, like, the characteristics of our neighborhood could change overnight because there's no guarantees that it won't. It's possible that nothing ever changes. It is possible. But I feel like that's kind of irrelevant because, again, she can have as many kids as the state allows there, and those can come in any form that she allows to come into her daycare. So again, they're 2 to 3 now. Next month, those kids might be gone, and now she's got 6, 7, 8, 10-year-olds there. And I have 2 kids. They can be very loud. And if I had 12 of them at my house, the entire neighborhood would know it, without a doubt. So again, I feel like the potential for this to turn into a very loud neighborhood, which is in no way, shape, or form what we bought into when we purchased in 2009. So I have a very big concern about that. I work from home half the week in my office on a computer, and you can hear it. If the windows are open, you can definitely hear it from time to time. So I'm in the basement, so mine's a little different, but either way, it is not quiet during times that you might hope that it is. So again, there's no guarantees that what's happening currently isn't going to get worse. I'm sure it can't get better than what it is right now. So yeah, I feel like it can only get worse. I think we've already closed the public hearing portion, so we gave everyone their opportunity during that. I have no problem. If you have something you would like to ask, we can give some purview to that too, or might be able to do that. So if you do have a question or something at that point, at least we recognize we can continue kind of through this agenda for tonight. We appreciate that. But thank you for your input. All right, there was no more questions on that they had at that point as far as that. So board discussion. Is there anything anyone has as far as?
I want to make a comment that we face these requests quite often, and it's difficult to create a disposition in a neighborhood. I wish I could do that where I live, and I think all the other committee members, everybody in the audience probably wishes they had that opportunity. So we're not, want to be fair about a business in particular, particularly in this township. We tend to be business friendly. Claims what could happen. Well, we could go on all day, I suppose, about the worst case and so on and so forth. It sounds like they're respectable business owners. That this township hasn't received any complaints. I don't think the state has. So I'm gonna throw that out there. My neighborhood's got issues. I live on Twin Lake, and, it's like recreational craziness, particularly today with these pickups on Middle Lake Road, things like that. I had a question. Does a school bus go to the end of the cul-de-sac and turn around, or do the kids get picked up on?
There's 2 scenarios. So the older children have to actually walk to the end of the street, but when they're under a certain age, they actually
Towards Pillen? Like they go, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So otherwise the bus comes around.
Okay.
Right.
And the majority of the older children are the ones that live at the end of the cul-de-sac and are the ones that have to walk past there's.
And my final thing is with respect to the sound. That's somewhat subjective. I think it is. Whether people want to have parties, play loud music, whatever. I can hear the effing bar on certain nights and things like that. I guess that's part of life. I'm not. So I kind of understand both sides here. You bought in, you wanted peace and quiet. We have lots of acreage around. Neighborhoods change, and I think it's good for the most part, but we have a mechanism to file complaints on noise. I'm sure the state keeps a very close eye on these sorts of businesses. In fact, I know that they do. My daughter is in this industry in another community. So I'll leave it at that. I tend to want to have an open mind, and I hope the neighborhood would as well, because I support this business growth. I think there's a huge need for it for young families that rely on two incomes, want to have a small family with a couple children. So I'm done. Thanks.
I was thinking similar thoughts to Todd. I mean, you can't really control your neighborhood at all. Like I mean, we lived in a neighborhood once and all of a sudden our neighbor had an extreme online shopping addiction. And there were every single day, it was Amazon, FedEx, UPS, and the Postal Service pulling up every single day. And that could happen in your neighborhood at any moment too. I mean, you cannot control your neighborhood dynamics. I don't. And also you can't control that your visitor, you might have a relative come and park in front of her house and start idling. Like you can't control what other people
They weren't
do.
idle. They parked, got out of their vehicle, shut it off, and left for an hour in the road.
But you can't control that your guests wouldn't do that
Control
also.
that.
I mean,
That would be up to her.
there are mechanisms for a lot of these problems.
Right.
That are perceived or potential. And the bottom line is that this is a permitted use. It's already in existence. The ability to do this increase is available. That's what we're doing today. Ultimately, it's a permitted use, and the increase is there's this mechanism here to make that increase. There's been no complaints. There's a great need for this type of business at the capacity. Ultimately, if you want, and we run in, and it's hard because we hear everything everybody's saying, and we understand. And we run into this all the time. People want to put a business in or use some land in a way. We had something recently where it was an empty lot and people just liked looking at the empty lot. Somebody wanted to put a business in there. And it's like, I'm sorry, but if you like the empty lot, you have to pay, you have to buy it, then you get to decide what happens on it. And in this instance right here, this is a permitted use. Which meets all the requirements. And ultimately, if certain things are valuable to you, then the dynamics of a neighborhood can always change. And living in a place where you're crammed in, house, the potential, this is a permitted use. It isn't completely out of the blue that this could happen. And you don't live in the proper place if some of these things are super important to you. Like you should have bought a house with a larger lot, so that the actions that the completely acceptable actions that your neighbors take can't impact you. Okay. These are permitted actions, and I support it.
Anyone else?
You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but the car that was parked in the road, did you notice it? Do you know who it is?
I have no idea.
So you don't even know who to tell, hey, please park in my driveway next time. Did you ever try to ask Sarah? Did you ever go and say, hey, Sarah, somebody was in the road forever, can you?
This just happened yesterday.
Okay.
And as far as, like if anything's been reported or anything like that, no, I had done none of that because initially I wasn't aware that it had turned into a daycare situation. I thought the children that I would hear shrieking through my closed home across the street was just her kids. And if those are her kids, then I need to suck it up and just deal with it because it's her children, it's their family residence. And that's a bit different than if it's noise from a business. So when you're asking if anything like that had happened, no. If I had known it was due to a business and some of the noise that's been coming through, then I would have done some different steps.
My husband, for the last 2 years has been working from a home office. And he's on the phone all day long, with clients. And he's never had a complaint, inside of the house that our daycare is in. And he says that that hardly hears us outside. I know that sounds biased coming from, my house. But, we use our garage as our entrance, for the families to come in and out that way. So it's as far to the west as possible. And we try to be very respectful. We don't want to cause any problems for anybody.
All right, well, we've had some discussion here. Is there anyone at this point that would like to make a motion?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you ever get noise complaints from daycares for like anywhere in the township? Have you, in the last like 6 months or year, have you received noise complaints based off a daycare?
I did receive one noise complaint about this specific daycare a couple weeks before this application was filed.
Okay,
Before then, I had not received any other complaints about any other daycare.
okay.
I guess one other question too, these, says in our little report here, 3/4 lots, is that 3/4 acre lots, is that how big they are, or how big are your?
More or less.
That's right around there.
Yeah, I drove by, of course, doing my due diligence, and I was actually surprised at how far apart the lots were. And I felt like, I don't know if anybody else drove by, they have a very large privacy fence. It's clear, it's white, so like you can't see in at all. We couldn't see anything. And it's kind of set back in the woods, like you can barely even see half their privacy fence because it's pushed back into the woods, so. And I'm somewhat appalled with the people who want them to fix their yard, because I honestly, there were 4 immaculate lawns in that neighborhood, and then there was about 10 in between, and then there were just some that were like, clearly the people don't care. And I would hate to single out anybody in a neighborhood for whatever reasons they have that they can't make their lawn look immaculate. That's just, that's not. This neighborhood sounds kind of sad.
All right, well, kind of where we were with the, we have before us SU 24-03 and SPR 24-04. Is there anyone at this point that would like to make?
Make a motion to approve SU 24-03 and SPR 24-04.
I support that.
Take a roll call vote. Casey?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
Donna?
Yes.
Dave, I vote yes. All right. It's been approved. We will move on now to SU 24-04, SPR 24-05. For Holton Road for mini warehousing and self-storage. I believe we have someone here who would like to speak in regards to that.
Yep, my name is Tom Vandenberg, it's my wife Amanda. I run a Vandenberg Construction, and we're looking to put up mini self-storage units. There's a huge demand in the area. I know they've been going up everywhere and such, but most places have a waiting list for them as well right now. So we'd like to try to get started in some and add some RV parking in the back and such like that. We plan to have it all fenced in, gated front on it, all nicely lit up. Shouldn't be much noise factor of anything to it, you know. We would like to maybe have it open 24/7 if there's no objections. That way people that work third shift and whatnot can get at their stuff. Other than that, I don't think there's any other question there. We do plan to use all metal buildings and such to it. So,
I have a question. Where does this stuff come from? What are people putting in all these storage units?
it's probably not much worth the while.
If you see my garage, you'd understand, I guess.
Yeah, I had one when I was younger for 7 years. Probably could have threw everything away in there, you know, but it's just not how people are. So. Yep. Any questions?
Now, there's some residences around that, and I mean, is this one of those things that a lot of times lighting and noise and things like that take, like if there's any plan to, I didn't get to visit the site. We figured out where it was kind of,
Yeah.
once we got here, so we'd already driven past it, but
So our plan is to kind of put some up front here. The neighbor's house is quite a ways away over here. And I am gonna leave 25 foot and then the fence.
Okay.
So there will be a barrier all the way around. And I do plan on planting some nicer trees down there and stuff to kind of make it look very presentable. Be respectful of the neighbors. We do want to leave a front area open right now, depending on whether we fill it in with more units later on or potential another business could go in there.
we looked at on the diagram, we did.
Yeah, Rhinelander cars or.
Yeah, and then there was the place they did the solar array right behind it too.
Yeah, trying to cross.
Yeah.
Alright. Got my bear.
Type of business falls within the master plan as a more, 120 being more of a commercial corridor,
Yep.
long-term.
It's a highly, traffic road, I we thought it would be a good spot for it. There's a lot of new subdivisions going on, obviously all around, but Stonegate and everything else right there, adding more houses all the time. Doing roads, adding more down there. Of course, Twin Lakes Road as well, so.
Quick question, I don't see. How much property is this?
It's almost 5 acres.
You own that 5 acres?
If we get approved, we are gonna close on it this Friday. Obviously, we didn't want to buy the property without getting the okay for the special land use on it. We kind of have about a year and a half plan to get phase 1 in, get the first buildings up and running and such. And then after they kind of fill up, we will add the second phase, to them as they fill up.
But the driveway will be specific to the county's requirement.
I talked to MDOT already.
Sometimes that's a little,
I've gotten the permits. She sent me all the information I need for my curbs, for the right of way off the side. I already talked to the asphalt paving company, get prices from them to do the entryway on it. I'll probably pour my own curbs. I'll be bonded and stuff like that for doing work. I'm gonna be doing the work myself for the business as well. So.
What did MDOT suggest as far as any, will you be responsible for any fly around lanes or anything like that?
No, they said I'm just gonna need like the right of way, the coming off the right,
Okay.
heading south, I guess it would be.
Yep.
And then I gotta have curbs 90 feet apart, I think, from end to end with a 60-foot radius, I
Okay.
think, off of them or something, 30 foot long. And then I'll be 40 foot to the gate of my fence from the edge of the road.
Okay.
I think Steve and I talked about the distances there.
deceleration and that kind of.
Yep,
Okay.
yep, I wanna have it long enough so if you have a trailer pulling in, you're not gonna, be hanging out on the road.
When you say RVs, that's what I was picturing. I was going, you need something to be able to get them in there.
Yep, so I'll be like 40 feet off the road too, you know what I mean, for the gates, so you'll have, quite a big area right there.
Yeah, plus your lane
Yep,
already. So.
yep,
Wouldn't necessarily be a passing lane though, right?
no, it's kind of like when you go down you see all of them, they just have about, I think it's an 8 foot from the white line that they kind of,
Yeah,
it's kind of a turn in, so you don't have to hang out. The left lane, I don't think I have to do anything for, as far as like a left turn lane into there. She didn't mention anything like that.
None of the other businesses have it.
Right, I'm not adding that much traffic to the area. It's pretty much traffic in the area. That traffic's around there, you know what I mean? So,
One that's very sporadic. I
right,
mean, you'd be surprised if like more than 5 people come at the same time, so.
Correct.
It's not like I open at 3 o'clock and there's gonna be a line, so I'm sure they weren't too concerned with traffic.
I do plan on having motorhome and, RV parking in the back area. I am gonna try to keep a section of the pine trees in the back over there, that way the neighbors don't see it and everything else.
As far as the building size, do we need dimensions on that for this?
For this section.
So like, the first buildings are gonna be like 20 by 100. With 20 doors, basically. 10 by 10, 10 by 20 sections, and then I'll have a few 5 by 10s as well. And then, we'll add on to those buildings and just make them longer, phase 2.
Nothing crazy with height or anything like that?
Oh, they're all gonna be 9.5 foot tall for the standard ones with a 312 pitch on them.
Okay.
I don't like the real shallow pitched roof ones you see. I'm gonna put a little more pitch to ours.
mhm.
I am debating on doing some RV covered storage, which would have a max height of 20 foot. Like in the front, because those are like 50 foot long by, 14 foot wide stalls. So,
I play contractor for a minute.
sure.
You know what would be nice, rather than some mini storages have wall packs that just blast light out. If there were some pole mounted lights, particularly LED nowadays, that just are articulated, or they have lens that will direct the light down
Yep, so like on all my,
the surface of your customer's work.
so my buildings, I'm putting on a 12-inch overhang, which a lot of them don't have that either.
Yeah,
And I'm talking to my electrician right now, we're gonna run an LED light strip underneath those that go right down, that way each unit's got its own light.
wonderful.
And it's all lit up, right there, it's not gonna be spread out all over the place. We may have 1 or 2, by the gate type thing,
Yeah.
for like yard light.
That's what you have.
Yeah,
Most residents that are in around a business, that's the thing they'll say is it's the light and the noise.
yep,
And if you keep that under control, water, if you have, too much where the water comes off the property, and we require that it would be on the property. You wouldn't have-
yep, in my design there, I got a 50-foot section for all the watershed to go to and everything to stay on my property, sink in, so.
So do we need to include the building size on this?
So some of the buildings, like I wanted to get the approval first before I kind of finalized what I was getting for buildings. That, I didn't want to like put a down payment on something and not have whatever going on. So I'm kind of going through all my people right now as far as getting the exacts down on what I want.
So can we do it as a not to exceed, or?
I will have engineered stamps as well. with them all, so.
We have to wait till we have those. That's what Stephen, would we have to wait to see what the proposed for the buildings are, or can we do it stating no, not to exceed? It kind of gives a little bit of wiggle room, but
Yeah, you could give a maximum height. The plan shows 3 at 20 by 110 and 110 by 10.
not to exceed would
So
be,
the
Are you talking
We
about?
don't really need to do a building height because it's in the ordinance already. So not to exceed the ordinance.
Exceed.
Right.
That's, I wonder how you would word
I
it.
think it's 35 foot in commercial,
Yeah,
right?
it's,
I believe so.
They're definitely going that.
That's very tall. Yeah, that's very tall. That'd be really too tall for the
Yeah.
self-storage. No, but for the outdoor storage, we do need to include that in, it has to be permitted by
The
us.
lengths of them and the widths probably aren't in that, right? It's just the height.
Correct, yep.
all right, I think we have all of our questions right. If we have anything else, we may ask, redirect after that, but we actually have to do the public hearing on that part, so we'll go ahead and open it up and see if anyone would like, has any comments. So I will go ahead and,
Let's have a comment.
Well, he wants, go ahead and open the public hearing. He wants to publicly talk. Just a
My
moment.
name's,
Just a
Jeff
moment.
Reinberg. I live on
okay, then one second, I'm gonna open up the public hearing at 6:56.
name's Rick Reinberg. I live on the south part of that. My concern was, we talked today, I didn't know the zoning, it's zone commercial because my house is agriculture,
What's your address?
3885.
3885. Thank you.
There are 5 right now storage facilities within miles of us. It's gonna be open 24/7, the noise, I'm concerned about that. Actually, I was on vacation, I flew back from Florida. I'm going back and flying back to 16, that's how strong I felt about this. It's just, I love the area, we have, deer and all that, that's beside the point. I knew that the product for sale, I didn't know it was commercial. I thought somebody built some houses, which I was okay with that. But we're looking at something that's open 24/7 with the noise, people coming in there. It's just, I'm worried about the value of my house when it's there. I mean, put it this way, would you guys want a storage unit beside your house at home? I mean, there's a need for it. The one they have down by the car lot down here in Benton's, that's all, there's no house by it. For this is gonna be directly on it, and I really think it's gonna affect the property. I like the idea of a fence because if this is a done deal, which I don't think it should be right, but if it's a done deal, I think it should be a privacy type fence, not just a fence, and anybody can see it. But I'm more concerned about the noise. So if people come and go, I mean, unfortunately, times are, you read the paper, there are things happening that shouldn't happen. There are people living in storage sheds right now because they do. It's got power there, it's summer. That's what happens. What's it special on 24/7? Yes. So that's nothing against you guys. But I don't think it's gonna affect it as my value of my property too, for the same reason. All right, thank you. It's a
Hi.
My name's Emma. I'm Fritz. I live at 3965, which is the property on the other adjacent side. All respect to you guys. Just want to make that clear. So this was our first home. We just purchased it in February, end of January, moved in February. And had we known that our current residence was going to be next to a storage locker unit, we would have never purchased. We're at the age where we plan on starting a family, and again, very subjective, but you wouldn't want your children to be raised next to a storage locker facility with people coming in and out. With or without safety screenings, I'm just concerned about, privacy screenings, I'm concerned about safety. And especially, I would trust that they would implement the appropriate safety mechanisms to make sure that people weren't abusing them and living in them and doing things that weren't safe for the area. But I think the other thing is to, first question is how, I don't know how this works, but for zoning purposes, how would a property that sits between two residential plots in a relatively residential area get approved for commercial use?
Well, our master plan dictates that area for mixed use,
Okay,
so
okay.
commercial and residential.
Okay,
Actually, Casey, it does indicate resource conservation. But it is already zoned commercial.
So it's not in the overlay district?
It's in the M120 access management
Okay,
overlay, but the mixed use overlay is only on Whitehall.
okay.
that brings up my next concern is a lot of the property behind us is wetlands, and a lot of it is wetland soil. And as far as I know, through EGLE and the DEQ, you have to have special permission to build on these properties. Now that is something that isn't exactly my can of worms to open, but I know that there's a lot of push for this to be conserved in Michigan, and I like wildlife, and we have a lot of pretty amazing wildlife that live in that property. Again, it's not my property, so that's not my say to keep that wildlife there, but eagles and deer and things like that. So I guess what's going to be is what's going to be. It's not my say, but at the very least, if for our sake and my future children's sake of the safety and privacy, at the very least, we could keep just a line of trees, and beyond that safety or the privacy fence, it would just be really appreciated. And again, I know Rick already said it too, but I was very concerned that I just made the first biggest investment of my life, and I'm going to lose it because of a storage locker facility. Just really disheartening at our age. Great, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? It's 7:03. We will close the public hearing.
I have a question, Steve. So the AMO only talks about traffic, doesn't talk about mixing.
It's about access from
Okay.
M120.
So what does the master plan say for M120? It's completely mixed right now. What direction are we supposed to be going? More residential or more commercial or?
Basically, everything south of Michelinda and north of McMillan is resource conservation. But it is already zoned commercial, so anyone could come in and do a by right, one of those by right uses.
Okay. So is this south of McMillan?
This is north of McMillan.
Oh,
North of McMillan, south of Michelinda.
so this is in the area that we're.
Across street from Rhinebrook.
Oh, where's McMillan? Sweeter?
It's about a mile south of this location.
Does not come through.
No,
Help me.
it's the kind of the cross where Dylan and then the other road right after that's McMillan.
Oh, I'm in BD now.
May I ask a question? Sorry, when was this approved for commercial use? And would that have been a public hearing as well?
It likely would have been the last zoning map was adopted in 2019.
Okay.
At that point, it was commercial, and it was likely commercial before that.
A long time ago. I have a question also. It was 2019. I've lived there for 9 years. Nobody sent any letters out. That would change it. The only parcels, that is commercial. Their property is agricultural. Mine is, the corner is.
Yes.
For that one in the center to change, should we have it?
It didn't change then. He said it likely was commercial before, so that's why.
In 2019, they did a mass rezoning. And when there's a mass rezoning, there's no notification that needs to be sent to adjacent properties. They only have to post it in the newspaper and on the township website.
He has injection molding machines.
So there's no mailing notifications for mass rezonings.
So we just kind of got back and forth.
I mean, yes, there is some responsibility for you to look at on the township's website what the zoning map is. If you want, or to go to Muskegon County GIS and click on the parcels to see.
Why would we?
If,
And given,
Whatever we're
given the
supposed to
changes to the master plan, I don't think it was. I don't think they changed it to commercial at that point.
Yeah, I would agree. It's probably been commercial for many years.
Then why isn't the corner on Arden, Alton Road, that big corner is for sale, but that's not commercial, that's,
because this M120 is a disaster. That's what I was talking to him about. Like, where are we going with master plan? Because M120 is a horrible mix of residential and commercial parcels all up and down it. And I mean, so are we addressing, I guess you didn't answer my question yet. Are we supposed to be, I know this is commercial, but let's take this out of the mix. Are we veering towards commercial or residential from this section that you were just speaking of? Or is it going to always continue to be a complete mix of commercial and residential parcels?
With the established commercial zone or commercial uses between, I don't see those going away.
Okay. So it's always gonna be a
It's just a
pretty
matter-
good mix
Yeah, it's
because
just a matter if you feel it's appropriate to keep,
including more commercial business stuff.
to include more,
Okay.
to expand or to contract or to keep the same as what's zoned.
Because directly across the street is commercial.
Correct.
So that's our dilemma, is that we have the uses that are permitted. And this is a special use.
Okay, I'm also confused too. The person that lives directly to the north of this parcel, are they also commercial?
They are also, the front portion of the lot is also zoned commercial.
Okay, is there a house on the commercial portion right now?
I believe so.
Oh, yeah, because it's pretty close, I see it underneath the red bar. Okay, so the person to the south is zoned resource conservation, but the person to the north is already zoned commercial. Okay, thank you.
I'm so sorry, could you give an address for that business that you guys are speaking of?
No,
It's us.
it's a residence and it doesn't show, I think it might be 3965 Bolton Road. The back is resource conservation. The front where the house is commercial.
That's our house.
Yes, your house is zoned your parcel is zoned commercial. Right now. Correct, the front, but that's where your house is.
Yeah, why would, but that's a separate issue. That's new to us.
Look here.
Right here.
The fact that it is zoned commercial, I wouldn't go home thinking that's a negative, you know. I think maybe not in my lifetime, but I think it's likely that more and more commercial will end up being built on 120 as opposed to wherever. I mean, that's just obvious. We talk about this a lot on 120 and also White Lake Road. Whitehall Road, excuse me.
I have a question regarding water runoff, if he does it. Is it already floods, like in our backyard? Without additional water runoff in our backyard?
His water is not allowed to leave his parcel.
Okay, so how is he gonna mitigate that, I guess?
Address that.
Address us, like, answer his question.
The property is designed where there's 50 feet in the back to handle all the watershed. There's also, to what she mentioned, there is a DEQ from my paperwork of a corner, a 75 by 90 foot chunk of the corner that I cannot build on. That is it. That's all I have. But I was told I can use that as the watershed.
Is that the question mark on your drawing?
Yes, that little
That's the
tiny
little
corner.
parcel that they've deemed a wetland?
Yep,
Okay,
but it's not on your guys' maps. The realtor gave me that through DEQ.
okay. So you are planning to drain all your stormwater to swales or something in the back
Yep,
of the
to
lot.
an area in the back, yeah.
Okay.
Plus, I'm gonna have, right now, it's planned to have a crushed asphalt driveway to where, yes, I'll have a little runoff, but it's not going to be, massive, like, if you know what I mean, like a concrete area or something. Plus, there'll be no extra water on the property. It's just gonna drain different.
What is the ground, what is your vision for the RV storage? What will the surface be? Will it be paved or will it be stone?
Probably crushed asphalt.
Okay. Dave, what's the precedence for offering shielding or whatever? I mean, does the planning
We can
commission do?
require. we
Like
can-
what kind though? Like plantings or like a privacy fence or, you can get chain link and then you can put those things over the fence or those panels that you can't see through. Like do you guys have a precedence for what you normally have done in the past?
There's usually the height requirement is the one thing we have in the distance from the road, correct?
Yeah, usually distance from road.
So
And now.
I don't know if there's anything for, like stipulating it needs to be.
Yeah, for RVs, I would recommend,
Do we
um,
do that for the wedding
requiring
venue?
more than 6 feet. So giving some sort of waiver for
A higher
a higher
fence?
fence.
Okay.
It's
Well,
just
what
you-
about screening
a
for the
6-foot
fence?
Isn't enough to see, enough to hide a camper.
Like is there gonna be it looks like along the south side, it's not very wooded at all. But the north side, it looks like if you left a buffer that you should.
That's what I do plan on doing, is finding the property line and going over 25 foot to put the fence so that I am planning on leaving all those pine trees, everything in between us, because I did not want to ruin their privacy. And I understand all that. I do understand of keeping it, you don't want to look at a bunch of junk in the backyard and everything else. So if we have to put up an 8-foot fence, I'm totally fine with that, in that back section.
I have a question. If you're gonna put an 8-foot fence up, could it be a privacy fence? Not just the one that, like she's talking, that you put the plastic through that blows way down the road.
I don't think you can get an 8-foot privacy fence put up because they'll blow down, for one. Two, you're gonna have to put the slots in it. It's the only way you can get an 8-foot privacy fence.
I could just clarify too, that would be 25 feet from either adjacent property, correct? And from the-
There's gonna be a 25-foot ring, yes, all the way around. Yep,
So the setback from the property line, 25 feet in.
that's where our fence is gonna start.
Yes, that's where the fence will be on his property, 25 feet in. So he'll have the buffer, the screening on.
That's pretty
The
generous.
plants to leave the trees?
Yes,
Okay, yeah.
same thing on the other side. I know it's not much trees on the other side. I kind of did have a plan to put a bunch of popple trees down that to make it look nice. You know what I mean, down that edge, so that's kind of what is in the plan at this point.
Inside that 25 foot.
Correct.
I do have a question. I mean, I appreciate what he's trying to do, but is there any recourse if he does not do this?
Talk about the privacy stuff.
Yeah, anything we put in the permit, if he doesn't follow it, he's in violation of a special use permit.
Essentially, if it's a violation of the use permit, then we would hold a public hearing and potentially revoke the special use. Or require it to be.
So do you think, does that answer, like if we went to 8 foot?
So the 8-foot fence would only be around the motorhome area.
Around the RV spaces, yeah.
The other ones are gonna be buildings, so there's not really gonna be anything to see through. It's gonna be the backside of the building.
But you are open to planting on the back side of that building, on the south side
25-foot
of.
section, sure.
So the buildings on one side are not going to be fenced at all then?
The whole thing is fenced, correct?
Yep.
Yeah, the whole thing is fenced in.
So in other words, down the 25 feet in, he's gonna have a 6-foot fence,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Okay, could the 6-foot fence be a privacy fence? And not the metal?
I don't know if we could,
I mean, we can, but there's a building there. What he's saying is there's a building right there.
The building gonna be right up against the fence then?
Yeah,
Gotta
it
be
looks
probably
like,
within like a foot of the fence right
Right.
there.
right.
Then
And that's a single-sided building, so nobody will be coming around the backside between the fence and the building.
That's why I designed it that way, to try to keep the privacy nice. That way he's not seeing people on his side of it or whatever, he's just gonna see, the fence and the building.
So they won't be able to drive through and.
Nope.
I come, is it all right if I show them this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna come down there.
Can you approach
I'll
that?
give these guys too.
Absolutely.
This is what he's got, his plan here, so you guys would be north here, south side. This other little print is showing, so this is this on your side here.
Yeah, so it's mine.
And so nobody can drive back there.
What's that signal, what, this part of that be, privacy or something? Yeah, I realize that.
Along that side there.
Here, back.
Yeah.
I'm worried about, very good, like I said, the value of our, both our property.
Yeah, I don't, and I have no, we have no really.
Not to, we're trying to do this, right, we're not trying to hurt you guys at all or anything, but all due respect, that the property was zoned commercial when we bought it, so we're not trying to change anything.
Well, I'm saying, I understand.
Secondly, I could probably put in a restaurant, I could put in all this different stuff without having to do the special zoning permit.
This is.
So, like, literally, a bar could go into there and I wouldn't have to do this meeting.
We appreciate you considering our privacy.
Well, and I definitely try to take people's considerations.
So where's the driveway?
In
Here, is this like the center of the property?
Yeah.
Fun.
Is that the center?
Yep.
This is pretty much there.
My paper wasn't big enough, so this fence is here.
yeah, because we started with trees, but then we were going into young or whatever.
He's a community guy, so.
Doing the right things.
Yep, it's gotta be.
Honestly, someday there should be just a huge thing up here and they can see everything. Know exactly.
That's the goal with the
Oh,
TV.
is that what TV is? That's great.
And then this is the watershed area in the back. This is my property line right here.
So it's gonna drain this way, not this way.
Right, yep, it's gonna drain right in the back.
So, yeah, I definitely see.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is. We should keep as many trees as possible.
I didn't plan on taking up any of my street there, so I understand.
I should go home with her.
I know.
24 hour or
Yeah, I was trying to do this, man, to this view, right, and this
And
thing.
always saying that I was the license one person, never that right. It's gonna be huge license.
What?
It's been a contract.
It's all being recorded though.
Yeah, we should probably have stopped down.
For everyone to feel good.
We're not gonna have squatters, we're not gonna have
Just
any of that kind of stuff going on.
For the building to be here.
Here, moment, at the moment, you're looking at keeping it pretty decent, like a quarter swatch right there.
assume.
Could you explain your drawings with the picture?
With your, like,
Yep.
for.
Sure enough, for the-
Like where your property would start, like from the.
The black line, the property line.
Right. Like
And from that picture, what you showed me, there, I mean, like that chunk.
There's that.
Yeah, I got that,
Do you have any unfinished business?
Okay, highway.
Right, there's not the,
And this is gonna be kind of like this two new,
no unfinished business, the two new business.
Is this the direct?
This is gonna sit
Wait,
right, right in the middle.
So the entrance is going to be little.
Yeah, that's what we did last time. Yeah, so that was just a look at the,
You know, like trees, right, we'll put down this line right
the
here.
red line version, that's gonna be the official.
So it's
It's gonna be approved.
Yeah.
25 feet.
Yeah.
And this is.
We have to deal with this next time.
Yeah, least plan. That's.
We'll see the back.
And that's all you're gonna see. You'll be over here.
And you're gonna be still 25 feet from the property.
Yep, you'll have those tree line right there.
Thank you. It is, and
Well, and like I say, we're not here to try to upset people or anything, you know. Somebody else would want it.
No, Lee, that's totally normal for you to leave with me.
I just want them to just see.
Well, especially
see.
explain
I
sometimes
do really,
from here.
as much as we don't want to see something from there, we appreciate that you're considering our
Right,
privacy.
I get it, you know. So,
Alright.
Okay, so I think go ahead and move this to, had conversation on that. I think, some of the things we may want to introduce additionally to this, if there's anyone that would like to make a motion on that.
I just wanna say the outdoor storage, per the ordinance, it does have to be. It says screen, so I'm assuming we have to say something about what screening,
Yeah, what screening?
so be specific about, okay.
Yeah, so as to screen.
Just the, it says just the outdoor storage area, right? So just the
RV
RVs,
section.
because everything else is inside, right?
That's farther down the road, correct?
well, I am gonna do that, the RV storage first in that phase one or
Okay,
whatever.
yep.
Then I'll add more buildings to it or whatever.
This is in the back of the lot.
Yeah, that's in the back. Very back, on the more north side, but looks like, I mean. I think. If you're gonna clear all, would you clear all the way to 25 foot where the fence was at, I guess, probably would be good, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna, everything inside the fence will be cleared, obviously, but
Are you doing anything in the future developments? Are you clearing any of it right now?
there's a temporary driveway already kind of there. That's what I'm gonna use to get my tractor in and clear the rest. I don't plan on clearing much into that spot until I figure out what we're gonna do with it.
Well, because I guess that kind of changes, because if he's not clearing the future development site, then he really does, we don't need to include screening on the
West or east side.
east side. We just need to do it on the north side. But if he is clearing it, then that part probably needs to have screening too. So on two sides instead of one, so. For now.
There is potential just with the location of the house to the north. I'm not sure how,
Oh, that they both should be screened anyway?
yeah, I'm not sure
Okay.
how much screening that would give
Okay,
if we're to rely just on that.
Okay.
You definitely wouldn't need any in the rear.
okay.
I want some for,
Yeah,
security, but
right, yeah.
it would need to be screens and stuff.
One of us is kind of very close to having the verbiage.
Are you looking at me?
I'm counting on you to roll in here. I
Yeah,
can feel it.
Yeah, I'm feeling that. It just says screening in here though, so you think an 8-foot privacy fence would be the most appropriate in the RV area only? Okay.
It's really whatever you feel is appropriate. If you feel a 6 foot tall privacy.
I'm very short, I don't know.
If you feel that's enough to screen RVs.
Although RVs are very tall, I mean, some of them are like 13 feet tall.
Did you have an idea of what you plan to do in that area to begin with? Like, were you already planning an 8 foot or?
Well, I was gonna do a 6 foot all the way around. That's kind of what I've been pricing up, but it's really, if I have to go to 8 foot, it's not gonna, make or break the deal or whatever, so.
I don't have a problem with the back part if it's gonna be 6 or 8 feet. You?
Behind us.
Yeah, it's, as long as you way in the back, I don't have a problem.
That seems sick. Like I said, I think it's consistent and we don't have to worry about, did we say 6 or 8?
Okay.
It's something, now, if you're gonna do on the fence, and it will be a chain link fence, you're figuring both of them,
Yeah,
but will it have anything like she said, we can see?
like around the motorhomes, I'll put them slots in to kind of make it a privacy fence, you know? You know,
You should also look at these big panels. You put them on with zip ties.
Yeah.
Like they have come a long
Like they
way.
go over dump
We
trailers?
have them, yeah, like they use them at events and stuff. They provide so much more. You literally cannot see through it at all. And they hold up a lot better than you would
Oh,
expect. We've had one on our fence for years and like 3 or 4 years and it
Yeah, I
looks
mean, that's
brand
something-
new.
we could definitely do something like that.
He was gonna cover it, and he's gonna put trees down the line. Like I said,
Like I said, we want it to look nice, we want it to be one of the most secure looking ones around, we're gonna have some security cameras on it. You know, I do know there's some competition around the road, but being that there's a long waiting list for everybody right now, there's a huge demand for it. And it's shown as the economy gets worse, the demand goes up for those, so.
my brother had some stuff around the corner, and they had, he got broke into his at night at 3 o'clock in the morning, because people have their key to get in. And stole half the stuff out of it, they hit 3, 4 other ones, and that was somebody that gave a key or somebody to rent the place.
Right. Now, there's nothing you can do to stop some people, you know, I mean, some people are gonna, if they wanna steal,
I have some that rock.
Yeah. I make a motion to approve SU 24-04 and SPR 24-05 for the Holton Road mini warehousing self-storage, with the stipulation that the RV area is fenced in a 6-foot privacy fence on the north side and on the east side of the RV storage area.
All right, we have a motion. We have a support.
I'll support.
Take the roll call vote. Dave, I vote yes. Todd?
Yes.
Lee?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Casey?
Yes.
All right, that moves forward. All right, we're gonna move on to communications. There are some the township board meeting minutes and addition the planning and zoning report for March of 2024. We have no unfinished business. We move on to new business, section 9, which is the draft ordinance for 2024-01 for home occupations and home-based businesses. At this point, I know for that, this was the one when Stephen was speaking, now I recall, these things kind of run together. That is we had some talk, we Xed some things out, and then we went ahead and had the changes made on this, so this represents our most recent, and this would be the one that we would be sending forward for a public hearing.
quick question, so we approved it then, do we need to get a paperwork or anything else from you guys right now?
I will, I'll be in contact with you about it.
Okay. Okay, so we're all set then? You're all set? Awesome, thank you very much.
Good night.
Thanks.
This one we beat on this one pretty hard, so. I don't think there's any stones left unturned. Did anyone see anything on this that? I think the stuff got taken out that we said was confusing and we added it.
I'm misremembering right now. I didn't really get a chance to, I remember looking at it, but is it both the home occupation and home-based businesses is not more than 50% of the total area shall be used for either? I already can't remember like which one is for like the home based business more than the
Yeah, the
Home
home-based
occupation.
business is more strict.
more strict.
The home occupation, you can't change the character, nobody should know you're doing it, you can't store anything outside.
Yeah.
You can only use home power tools.
Yeah.
The other one then
You're
is,
getting a little more businessy.
yep,
But you still can't use more than 50%.
That's of the dwelling.
But you well, but then then that.
yeah, this doesn't include the storage buildings
Accessory
anymore.
buildings.
Correct.
Okay.
And honestly, if you use over 50% of your home for your business, you might think about just being a business.
I think that's more for assessing purposes, where
Oh, yeah, true.
it might have to take classes or this way you can say it's undeniably residence.
All right, do we have anyone that would like to, at this point, make a motion?
Go into the
Public hearing.
Here next month. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve draft ordinance 2024-01, home occupations.
Support.
Roll call, just to make it easy. Dave, yes. Todd? Yes. Lee?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
And Casey?
Yes.
We'll move that over to next month's agenda. All right, and now what you waited so patiently tonight for, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, here's your opportunity. We are all ears.
Appreciate it. And, first of all, just as an outsider, I appreciate you supporting this young lady over here. So that was,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah.
We're all gonna follow her home and make sure it all
It
goes
comes
okay.
with the job, and I can tell you, there's many times when we sit here and we just try to be fair. But at the same time, you cannot be King Solomon and make everybody happy. We try to do what's right for anybody making the opportunity, both protecting and going forward, but it's sometimes you have to. That's
No, it's not, sitting up there and getting attacked by a but
I'm sure she appreciates her support.
Yeah. So.
Is that introduction to,
So actually, I was interested in a piece of property on Holton Road as well. It's currently a blueberry farm, and we want to keep it primarily a blueberry farm. But we want to potentially switch it to a mixed use. And our intentions, it's a 25-acre piece of property right now. It's at 4080 Holton Road.
East of Holton Road, east on Holton Road.
Yeah, so right here is,
I think it's just
it's
not too
right
far
around
from
the
this
corner.
other property.
Yeah.
That we were talking
So here's,
about. Like,
Is it across the street?
yeah, it's on
But it's across the street and north of
Yeah.
Trinity
So-
Equipment.
between East Bard and Sweeter.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, it's almost kitty corner from that property that we were just looking at.
Yes,
So,
it is.
it's a blueberry farm. Behind it is a larger blueberry farm. To the sides of it are, just a lot of woods.
Is this the property line right in the middle there?
The property line is, so yeah, it goes
Imagine it's
right
all
here,
along
back to
the
here, and then this is the property.
Yeah. This
So
road
then-
here too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so it goes from this corner
Yeah.
to this corner here. There's actually a sliver through here.
Yeah.
And then this is a cutout, so this corner is not part of the property. This is, the current owner is going to parcel this off, so the building up front, it's not gonna convey in the sale. So that building up front was, I guess like the blueberry stand.
Oh, yeah.
It's now, he's using it for the purpose of his current business, which he's a plumber. So the plumbing business is out of there. What we would like to do is within this property, build our primary residence on it. But then also build a farmer's market, near the front of the road. And then also put a mixed use, venue, basically a big barn for weddings, wine night, movie night, those sorts of things on it as well. And I'd be looking to add probably 4 A-frame buildings on the property for use of, housing for the wedding venue. So the whatever brides, family, groom's family, whatever coming in, would have places to stay. So out of the 25 acres, there'd be, clearing of some of the land for building the primary residence. A limited amount of land would get cleared for the venue. A large portion of it would either stay Blueberry Farm or get removed, and other crops would be added for the farmers market. So the request then would be, to be able to switch the use from, I believe it's just ag right now, to special use or something.
Yeah, so it's one of those.
But I think in talking to Stephen earlier,
But
because the barn would be built specifically for the venue, I think there's an ordinance that only the existing barn could be used right now. And so building a barn specifically for the venue would make it a commercial endeavor versus, like, I would say it's a home-based business. We're gonna be living, on the same property. And so basically it's a working farm. It's gonna have a farmer's market and everything else there as well. So,
All the things like parking, you have things to consider, how that works. You'd again have same MDOT issues you'd have, coming in and out and having, it's not impossible. It's like for as far as what, I guess, not to say yay or nay. I mean, to hear the proposal, we've actually had several of them recently where similar things were done. The one out there off of Whitehall Road, that's what they had to build the venue. And they're still going to be.
Oh, behind the BP.
Yeah.
On McMillan.
Yeah. And that was, again, part of the process. They were gonna put potentially some other outbuildings and things. You have plenty of property, 25 acres. Would it be, you said the majority of the 25 acres would be what you're purchasing?
yeah, so I believe after it's parceled, because it's supposed to be in the process of getting parceled, what would be left is about 25 acres. So the intent, so once again, here is Holton Road, this would be the primary drive into the property with primary residence back in this corner, the venue off to this side, the A-frame buildings up through here, with all of this property, this whole middle section left for, ag.
Yeah. So dividing it or getting the approval for, would he need to do all of that?
yeah, so there are a bunch of different boxes that it would fit in. The main sticking point would be the A-frames. Those would likely, I don't know if they would be allowable under a special events venue. Special events venue, we just changed it so we can utilize outdoor space. It doesn't outright prohibit a 5-year building, but it does state, or a previous building for 5 years, but it does leaves it kind of a little fuzzy as to whether or not it would be appropriate for a new building to be built specifically to house the events. We could allow it as maybe a recreational facility. That would be allowed in the ag district. Just where this is located and with the master plan, it might not be appropriate or justifiable to rezone to C2. But I definitely see it as maybe we could put it in a couple boxes. It's just a matter of which boxes would be most appropriate. If we could call it a recreational facility or, maybe it could be a home-based business under the new guidelines. It might be a bit of a stretch.
I think your concern in our discussion was that it's not, the events aren't happening in the house. It's happening in a park.
That's.
So it talks about in the AMO, it's talking about traffic impacts and traffic studies and things. At what point are we responsible for saying whether there should be a traffic impact study? A farmer's market wouldn't be a big deal, but a wedding venue could potentially be a little.
Something like that, where there's over 100 seats at once, might,
Okay,
but then again, you're only having 1 or 2 events a week, so. That's something where we should definitely get MDOT's input
yeah, because
on
M120
those
is
events,
a
but
mess.
that's basically you can require whatever you want.
I'm not a huge fan of putting tons more traffic on M120, like all at one time, leaving and coming to an event. But I would love to know what a professional thinks of it, because my opinion means nothing compared to what somebody who does this for a living thinks of it. So I would be interested to see what, it says the road commission, but is that for Whitehall Road? And then MDOT would be M120? Okay. They definitely know way more than we would ever know about traffic, so. Is there any access to this parcel from Sweeter?
There's
Okay. It's not impossible, no, but anytime you get on M120, you just buckle up for the ride. It can sometimes be good and it can sometimes be bad.
okay. So what's the next recommendation?
We would defer you to our bestest pal. The thing is, you have some boxes, you have to kind of meet them all to get all of it, where you might be able to get 3 out of the 4 or 2 out of the 3 or what. There's ways you can do it, and then it has to be presented as your plan. That's what you would come forward with then, is to say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. For us to speculate and say, well, you could do this, you could. So we may not be considering something where there may be something that we could lead to thinking that's the way to go. I think we need to kind of direct you to where you can get the answers before you move forward with anything to really make it what you want.
I believe so. Steve already directed me back to you guys.
Yeah, so
Tonight.
I think the reason why I did that is because just to see if you think it would be appropriate to apply for, have the new building be part of a special events venue.
I'm just speaking, you got Blueberry
The intent of it,
the Blueberry Field
if it's something
that
that's
stays
useful to.
partially a Blueberry Field. You have a new building that's built there, and you have some smaller buildings built there. You just have like you said, the M120.
Yeah, I think we could find somewhere in here and make it happen. With maybe some stipulations, but I think if I was doing it, I would have an email dialogue or a phone call with MDOT to say, this is what we want to do and what are you going to require? And have them take a look at it, because I feel like you could be wasting a lot of time with us here we're telling you we probably could figure out a way to make it happen.
Yeah.
But if it all comes crashing to a halt, if MDOT's like, no way, not gonna happen. So
we can have those discussions with them from your guys' perspective. Right now, you seem comfortable with
Yeah.
something that.
I mean,
We just have to find out how to do it.
right,
The only question I would have on that is the A-frames.
yep,
Yes, our A-frames
us too,
allowed
that
as
was
a
my
special-
question too.
Would they be allowed, or would we have to call them a recreational facility? But then, are they really a recreational facility?
Well, and then then it's, the state only lets you have 3 like recreational units before you then have to get a state permit, so. Yeah,
So it's one of those things, I don't think we could make the A-frames work.
yeah, those are always hard.
Yeah, I said.
Because they start to turn into a campground because you're providing lodging, so.
You're saying 3 would be the limit though.
Well, this,
Without state approval,
right, exactly.
we call it a recreational facility.
And trust me, you don't want to get state approval for
But
it.
if you're,
How much seasonality would this venue have?
Yeah, so we would expect normally a lot, but that's why we'd have, it'd be more of a community area as well with special community events. So, probably other than the very worst parts of winter, we would expect, some activity there.
When you have that discussion with MDOT, the county, et cetera, I would bring that up because Twin Lake Greenhouse is about to open May 1st, and that generates a lot of seasonal in and out, stopping, people passing on the shoulder. It's just one of those things we deal with. It's not that bad, but I could see, that as a defense if they push back, that there's a seasonal business up the road that, generates a lot of retail business, and they come and go a lot, especially May, June, July.
They might tell you though that you're new and we get to make your life miserable, and they've been there forever, and so be prepared for that, but we've been surprised before by MDOT requiring very little, so you could be pleasantly surprised.
I always like ideas that kind of bring people to experience what Dalton Township is. In a way, if you think of West Michigan, who doesn't think blueberries?
Yeah.
And having something like that as part of the tie-in, to me, that's something that kind of shows it up. Now, I'm a retailer, so I don't know anything about the building when it gets to all those types of things, and you have to check all those. And then she's knows very much about having to deal with having to get your cut-ins and all the stuff that MDOT can, again, it's not they're being unfair, they're just trying to be as safe as they can, and they will err on the side of safety, very heavily, rather than say, well, what if? And they don't want to set you up for failure to have something weird going, I can't. People are going to complain and say, I would love to do it, but that hairpin turn doesn't work for me here.
It sounds like a good idea.
I mean, the farmer's market thing, what a fun thing to have out there, Local chef, you could see somebody coming in and having a chef on site going, we're gonna use,
We already have that planned.
so
Yeah, might want to talk to you guys.
that's where my retail comes in. So that's kind of where I think, so you have the right ideas on things. I think you just have to find the order you would go in. I think she's right, go to MDOT and start there and see if it's something they'll give you because then through us, we just have to find the boxes we could put that in to make it work. And again, the A-frames may be the one thing we'd have to look at how that works. I'm not sure. I don't
have a lot in the ordinance for multiple dwellings in a commercial type setting for people to spend the night. Like, it's because they're spending the night.
For us, that would not be the deal breaker. I mean, that's more of a convenience in
Okay.
terms of setting us apart from other.
Now, if you had the building, like having been through many weddings recently, the place where they come in for the day and they have a place to dress, relax, even would I want to come in a day ahead of time? Someone might. I mean, I can't really see that as a deal breaker for them, but it certainly would be something to have the venue area on site where you'd have. It makes sense, but I don't know how we do that. That'd be my stipulation would be, I'm not sure how we find that in the ordinance.
Yeah, we've entertained these wedding venues a few times now.
We've never approved that overnight lodging yet. Even the one down there, they didn't, that's in their future phases, so we've never been able to figure out how to make that part happen.
So if you started it without those, it'd be something later on, you could maybe seek a special
Okay,
use.
true.
To say,
Yeah,
here's what
true.
I'd like to, there might be a way after you have the established business, be able to say, I'd like to do this, and then you look at maybe it fits another box or something. But I would, as far as rezoning it, would it be? That was your initial question, like, how would you proceed from that side? And would there be anything that we would not be able to do on site as it is currently zoned?
I think it would just be hard to do the overnight stays.
Yep.
So if it wasn't the overnight stay,
Everything else seems doable.
MDOT is your,
As long as you guys think it's appropriate to add a new building for the purpose of the special events.
Do you live in the area?
You know, potentially.
Currently living right around there.
Okay, I was gonna
Looking,
tell you,
we're looking to.
there's a fair amount of Airbnbs close around the lakes in particular, as well as a lodge that has, I don't know, 6 or so cabins, maybe 7, that has accommodations for a bunch. I don't know what a bunch is, probably 40 people, maybe more.
It's just difficult because up around here, there's no big hotels. like
Yeah,
those.
right.
We don't,
To bring in a bunch of.
most
people.
areas don't have water and sewer, so.
I'm just saying as a buffer to maybe some future.
it's hard to catch an Uber out
Yeah.
down.
Oh.
Yes.
You should start one.
All right, well, appreciate the opportunity to speak with them.
Glad you're looking at Dalton for that opportunity. Hopefully it's something that can work out for you, because it's, like I said, we need things like that. We want to be known for having something that.
We are very excited about it and love the area, so.
We all live here, and I'll tell you what, I've lived here 24 years now, and it's the best decision we ever made. So.
We also have 2 miniature donkeys that are very cute.
Those approved.
That's awesome. Yeah, approved, no problem.
If you can get them in wedding paraphernalia, so you could have a party.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
All
make a
right.
motion to adjourn.
Or, all those in favor?
Aye.
Someone call me for you. I'm ready to go. You better be perfect. Serious. Here's the thing.